Hi friends, I'm Liv Phoenix, and welcome to Self-Taught Humanoid Person. It's kind of a working title. Consider this my first shot at the podcast thingy that I keep saying that I want to do. I'm hoping to keep these with minimal editing so I can be more reliable with uploads. I've struggled with crippling perfectionism basically my entire life. It's a result of a chaotic home through childhood and an effort to keep myself safe by like never standing out. So, depending on what corners of the internet you've frequented basically since like MySpace days, I may or may not seem familiar to you. I figured this episode I could give a little background on who I am and how I got here and what I hope to cover in future episodes. And about all the things that I've learned along the way and the things that I've enjoyed along the way. So, I guess we'll get into that. I do have notes. I do have notes so I get things in the right order and everything. I don't know if future episodes I'll have notes or anything, but I want to say certain things in a specific way, so I wrote things down. So, as I said, I am Liv. I'm a maker, artist, content creator, streamer, writer, performer, dancer, just all around multi skilled, multi certified human. I've had bouts of popularity on various websites in an attempt to tell my story and connect with other humans, relate to other people. I would post something and it would get more attention than I could handle in the moment, and I would end up deleting it and then deleting the whole account, going into isolation, rumination, and then eventually I would try again on a different website or different platform, and the same thing would happen. Uh, the uncomfortable truth about it was that my brain wasn't mature enough or healed enough to handle all the eyes glaring into like my most vulnerable moments. So I ended up stuck in this nasty cycle for years, no matter how much I wanted to do it. Each time I started, I would end the same way. I feel like this time is different though, because a few years ago I made a commitment to myself and began this extensive healing journey. I saw my shadows and I turned towards them for the first time. And now I feel like I'm at a place that I can begin sharing in a way that is healthy, sustainable, um, authentic, and talking about the things that I've learned along the way. Um, my healing journey also came with a handful of diagnoses that gave context to a lot of my day to day struggles. My neurotype is ADHD. I have complex post traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Which, if you don't know what any of that means, I'll cover each thing in future episodes and how I learned that it affects me. If you do know what those things mean, then you should probably unclench your jaw and roll your shoulders back. But uh, I would like to cover those in separate episodes in their own right, because every time I make content about those things or um, start talking about them, it leads to waves of people around me being diagnosed, and I think that should be handled each individual one more delicately. You could be next. uh, the internet has been my escape and the place that I play with self-expression since I was like 13, and I got my MySpace page and would spend hours and hours customizing it, and you know I don't think I ever spent time on anyone else's pages. Just mine, and making it perfect. I was a viewer on YouTube since Jenna Marbles made the video of the face, like how to avoid talking to people you don't want to talk to, just give them the face. and I've been here since. I've made a few attempts to make my own videos on my own channel, but it never lasted because I have poor self-perception and poor self-esteem, and the perfectionism cycle kept me from doing anything for a period of time. Just constant worry about how you're going to be perceived, and you can't account for every single flaw or every single comment that somebody might make. It's very difficult, and my brain fights with it a lot. Um, I had a few uh, like writing pages over the years that did pretty well, like on Reddit and Twitter and stuff. But those were done under pseudonyms, and I've tried to remember what they were, and I don't know. But you might have seen me. And then finally in 2018, I made my debut as a Twitch streamer named Liviana. And I've told the story so many times about how that started, but I don't know if I've ever given like the full context of where I was mentally at the time and what I was going through. So I was gonna give that this time to make it a little different. So like in 2016, 2017, I was attempting to make YouTube videos again. I really, really wanted to do it, but I kept quitting before I could even finish a video, before I could edit or anything. I would delete a full video just because I was panicked about how I'd be perceived. And I was really struggling a lot with it, and I was crying often because of, like, I had the desperate need to express myself in some way. And it just became a fight in my brain between my self-expression and my self-perception. And ultimately, self-perception would win because my brain was trying to keep me safe by never standing out, never speaking up, never causing a fuss. uh, in my real life at the time, I was attending Cleveland State University, and I would take the bus every day. And one day there was a guy at my regular bus stop. I never saw him there before, never saw him again. Uh, he said something to me, and I was like, I had my headphones on, so I was like, I'm sorry. And he said, "Are you a streamer?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Oh, you look like one." And I hesitated because of this like internal battle I was having. And like I was looking at different ways to get around it, and I had seen streaming as a way to like bypass the editing, the watchback process, and pull me out of that cycle. And just like the night before he said this, I was looking at what I would need to start and if I would be able to do it without telling anybody, because I don't tell anybody about hobbies that I pick up until I feel like I'm good at them. But I took a chance on this guy that I'd never seen before, and I forced myself to say, like, I really want to do it. And without hesitation or judgment or anything, he said, "You should. You would do really well." And it was like the universe giving me exactly what I needed in that moment to break a cycle and get to express myself for the first time. First time in a long time. So that night after class, I went home and I made my pages under the name Liviana, and I ran my first test stream. There's a clip of it somewhere on my channel you can find in one of the compilations. It's just the menu from Streets of Rogue. uh, but, I mean, he was right, and I did do well, and it wasn't long before it was a monetizable hobby, and then I was doing it full time for about 2.5 years. Around 2019, I began to realize that the way I was living was not sustainable. I was in a toxic relationship, and I was starting to become dependent on alcohol in order to do my now job. And so I changed environments. I thought I would be in a healthy, supportive environment, and it ended up being worse for me. My dependence on alcohol and substances got worse. And at this time of knowing that something wasn't right, I was seeing doctors about my mental health and was put on like heavy medications, heavy antidepressants that fucked up my shit. And like it was supposed to be fixing my brain and it was just making everything so much worse. So I freaked out and abruptly changed environments again to what I thought would be a healthy, supportive environment again. And it was for a short time. I was able to get off the medications, and detoxing off of the antidepressants was horrible. Um, but once I got off of them, my streams were doing really, really well. This was around the spooky sleepover era in 2020. Fix my shoulders. Hypocrite! um, yeah, this was a spooky sleepover era. There's still some of the episodes that I re-uploaded, and I still have some of them too. It was like the peak of my channel, and I decided to quit. And there's a lot of things that I've said for a while as to why, but having the perspective that I have now, um, I quit because things at home began to get bad. Supportive comments came with a side of shame, and I began to shrink myself down to try and fix it. I did quit alcohol, which was really good for me, and I am still sober. And I would like to say that the reason I quit was because I wanted to, and it was in part, but it was also because comments and judgments were made, and I felt ashamed. So I quit drinking. But not only did I quit drinking, I quit having fun. I quit taking up space. I slowly gave up everything about me to try and keep human connection and intimacy in my life. My brain was trying to keep me safe by making me small. And it didn't fix anything. Toward December of 2020, I thought things were looking up. I thought everything was going to be okay. Responsibility seemed to be taken. And in my personal mental health journey, I got an ADHD diagnosis, and I dived into learning all about that and how that affects me and ways that I can cope with the rough parts of it. And I started making content on TikTok, and that was under the name Liv Factotum. And it was about ADHD and neurodiversity and how we all have similar childhoods. And I had a great little community on there. I loved it. There was a week in 2021, the first week of 2021, that I had the space to myself and I could make all the silly little videos that I wanted to, even if I thought they were stupid. And I went viral on TikTok. One of my videos reached 1.7 million views and I reached 32,000 followers. Now I look back at that situation and I see it as a nod from the universe to not quit making content, to not make myself small. And I was so excited and so inspired. And I had so many ideas. I had so many ideas that I couldn't do anything because I had too many. Um, but it was soon after that that shame followed every upload, and my physical health began to tank. My Ehlers-Danlos syndrome caught up with me, and I dislocated a rib. I don't think I ever said this online, but I dislocated a rib by dancing. It wasn't a TikTok dance, it was a K-pop dance. So there's your treat for listening to this. Don't make fun of me, I've been through enough. But I ended up bedridden for like a year from it because I couldn't stand without severe pain in my back, to the point that it was like that deep nerve pain that makes you like fucking nauseous. It was horrible. I went to countless doctors and emergency rooms and urgent cares, and they never got to the bottom of it. My rib would shift and it would put a set of nerves in a different part of my body to sleep, and it would be a whole new panic. Like at one point, it was the nerves in my face and half of my face, like I didn't have like sensory input on. It was weird. Uh, yeah, nobody got that it was a rib, even though I had X-rays and MRIs and everything else. Part of it was that they didn't believe me that I could have a rib out of place because I said I can stand for like 2 minutes before the pain gets so bad that I'm either going to throw up or faint, so I have to go lay down. And they said, oh, well, if you had a slipped rib, you wouldn't be able to stand up at all. So, never got diagnosed, but I know what it was because somewhere around month 7 in bed, I think it was. Maybe it was like 10, I don't know. It was a long time of dealing with this pain. I got super pissed off and I took like my thumbs and I put them up under my rib here and I just shoved really hard and it popped back into place. It was an excruciating pain for like 3 seconds, and then immediately it was like relief of that deep nerve pain. The pop was heard on the other side of the room, so I know it was a big one. But even though I was in bed for all of that time, at that point, I still wanted to make videos, and I'm still trying to make videos, like propped up with pillows and stuff, trying to tell, stories of the stuff that I was going through at the time. Because every time I went and said, like, it's, flank pain or whatever, I would get tested for kidney infections, kidney stones, like, all these things, and it was never any of that because it was my fucking rib. So it was, I don't know, I was trying to cope that way and still wanted to make videos. I didn't want to quit no matter like what the circumstance was. I would still do it from bed. I didn't want to quit. But it took a few weeks for like the back pain to get down to a more reasonable level to where I could spend a couple hours out of bed like cleaning and stuff before collapsing and going back to bed because of the pain. And during all of this, I had a big move, and we moved into a horribly toxic environment. And then at the same time, I caught COVID. Then I had abdominal surgery, COVID again, mono, and then we had to abruptly move because the hostile environment escalated. And we abruptly moved to something that wasn't hostile, but still toxic. And I had COVID again, and then I finally started to feel a little better. And I finally started to recover and be, I would say a normal, like be a normal human, but That's not that's not ever gonna happen. And January 2023, I decided that I wanted to start streaming again, and I think I started in February. And at the time, I went under the name Cozy Liv because I was propped up. I was like at the foot of the bed with pillows all around me, and obviously wasn't wearing like normal clothes. Didn't even have camera for a lot of them because I just wanted to do it so bad. So I streamed from the floor, propped up with pillows. I still didn't want to quit. And uh yeah, the Cozy Live ones are still on this channel because since then I've been going. I don't know if I'd say strong, but we're getting stronger as we go. And the months um of like February through like basically August 2023 were very rocky, and I finally decided to start fighting for my independence again. So around August was when I started having full days that I could spend out of bed. I couldn't necessarily like sit up all day on my own in a chair. I would like be sitting on the floor, still leaning against the bed or something, but I was having more and more days that I could spend the entire day out of bed and be able to be a little more active, able to clean up and stuff. And then in September, like the first week of September, I was able to ask for my desk and chair back because they got put away when I was, in bed for all those years. I ended up, uh, but I was finally able to sit up on my own for a full day, so I was able to have my desk back. And my desk is a piece that means a lot to me, so to have that back independently was a huge step for me. And it was around this like August, September area that I fully stepped into my own independence, and that's when I started the my final form, Liv Phoenix. Um, I recommitted myself to tackling my crippling perfectionism and be able to express myself in the way that I want to. And that's why I've been like uploading old streams and videos and pictures and everything, because the version of me that made those things worked really hard and was extremely passionate about it. So I think that they still deserve to be seen. So I've been uploading them for a while now. And I think that now I deserve to be seen as well. And I think I have knowledge and information that would be beneficial to share throughout this. So I don't have like a planned genre of topics that I'm going to talk about. It's mostly the things that are relevant to me or relevant to this moment in time, anything like that. Obviously, I will touch on some topics of mental health, but I don't want this to be just a space that I talk about mental health. There are so many other topics that are interesting to me, so it's just probably going to be a plethora of my interests. I don't know. I didn't put a huge plan together. I just finally took action. So here I am. And I really expected all of the information that I had to be longer, but it's not. So if you did watch it this far, I would appreciate if you give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, which is probably where most of you are coming from. Um, I still make content all over, so I'm just Liv Phoenix on everything. I just moved out and I'm not quite in my own space yet, so if you would like to send me something or support in any way, um, my wish list and stuff are on my Beacons page, my link in bio page, so that's all there. But I appreciate anybody who has hung out with me and who's been here through the whole thing. Maybe not necessarily knowing what's going on behind the scenes, but has supported me endlessly. Anyway, uh, you guys are the fucking best. And I hope to see you next week with a different topic that's not me. I don't have a sign off, I just need a word so you know that I'm done.